So to bring us up to date, um, uh, Sub Pop's actually thriving in the last couple of years. It's actually selling more records than it has pretty much at any point in its history.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nirvana aside, the first Nirvana album aside, pretty
Yeah.
much all your best-selling albums are from the last few years.
Yes.
Um, so, well, talk us. I mean, obviously you've had to adapt and change as a company to achieve that.
Yes. Well, I just think that there are a lot of people who work at Sub Pop in our A&R staff, and the time where the legend here was talking about when my company was on the ropes, it was basically me and another person doing all the A&R, and I did some good A&R in my time, but I also did a whole lot of bad A&R, lots of it. But we have a lot of people working in the A&R capacity at Sub Pop now, and it's sort of like a collective, and we listen to music, talk about music, bounce things back and forth. And we don't just do it in the meeting context, we do it as part of our ongoing job and conversation that we're having in the office. So I think that to the degree that we've had success recently, it's just been born of a lot of enthusiasm for the artists that we've been working with by the Sub Pop staff. And it's been really a great time to be able to be working at the company because sales notwithstanding, there is so much energy and enthusiasm for the artists that we're working with. It's contagious and really, I mean, particularly when you're working in a music company, right? You want to be able to be working with artists that you're psyched about. But while that seems obvious, I've been in many record companies where that has not been a given. And I think to the extent that we're having success these past few years, it's because of people working at the company who are excited about the artists that we're working with, and the artists in turn reacting to that excitement.
But isn't it also kind of, I mean, at the moment, certainly a lot of the major labels are kind of running around going, oh no, we're going to have to lay off a load more people. Why isn't Sub Pop doing that?
Well, I think that, there may be a time, I obviously hope not, but there may be a time when, we have to lay off a bunch of people too. I think the music industry is cyclical. I think there are, like any other business, you have your good times and you have your down times, and we've been having a good run lately. I think as far as the major labels go, they were created to service a whole different, set of needs. When people were buying more physical product, the physical product had to be distributed to stores, and the stores then would have the opportunity to determine the placement of the product, and they would work in conjunction with the distributors and with the labels as to the pricing of the product. Actually, they would work in conjunction with the labels and distributors as to the placement as well. But there was a lot more going on that would make the major labels much more formidable in the old way of music distribution. Now, with technology being what it is, those old structures have become or are quickly becoming obsolete. So these larger companies are trying to reconfigure themselves to address the new times. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, how quickly and painlessly a company is able to do that. And unfortunately, quickly and painlessly in this particular situation doesn't really go together, because you're dealing with people's lives, people's livelihoods, and trying to be able to understand what's coming as opposed to what has been. And so I have a lot of empathy and understanding as far as the difficulties that a lot of the larger companies are having in reconfiguring themselves.
But I mean, why isn't the Sub Pop structure obsolete?
The Sub Pop structure may very well become obsolete somewhere along the line. You know, record labels, I think in many ways Sub Pop is an old-fashioned record label. And I think to the extent that we've been successful, it's because we focus more on the music fan and less on just, you know, pushing out product, which is to a large degree what a lot of larger labels, whether they'd admit it or not, used to do. They used to just push records out for billing purposes. And what we're trying to do is build a roster, continually reconsider our roster, not just in terms of sales, but in terms of the label's ongoing vitality and relevance. And sometimes that leads us to make some counterintuitive decisions as far as, you know, the artists that we work with and the times that we work with them. But that to us, that is part, you know, we believe, and you folks would know better than I, that the Sub Pop logo means something to the consumer. And it's hard to be objective in what exactly it is that it means. So we just come back to the basic formula of working with artists that we're excited about. And we find that as long as we're doing that, you know, the rest of the stuff is improvised. That, you know, we'll find the resources and we will manage to tackle the job of getting the music to the consumer, whether it's this model or a newfangled one. That's really the core mission of my label, is to work with artists that we're psyched about and to give them a platform where they can be marketed in a way that they find to be respectful, and where the consumers are intrigued and also find it to be respectful of their intelligence.
Okay, I think we have to wrap this up, so I've just got one final question for you. It's something that was just thrown at me. I was just being interviewed for a kids' TV show, so I thought you're probably better able to answer this question than me. But what's your feelings on like downloading, illegal or otherwise?
No. Is that good? I think downloading is cool. I do it. You know, I mean, it's a fact of life. You know, I mean, you're talking about like illegal file sharing or whatever. I mean, lots of people do it. I obviously, being in the industry that I'm in, you know, I like people buying the music that gives the label the biggest return. I mean, duh. But, you know, I'm not like trying to. The thing is so many people listen to music in so many different ways and react to music in different ways. I think the important thing is that people be into music, however it's done. And I think as long as that happens, then the end result is going to be positive. I'm not like one of these people who's like trying to see this outlawed or, you know, have this taken down or whatever. I mean, the one slight amendment that I can make to that is that when we're about to put out a new record and suddenly, really, you know, sites come up, you know, where they're distributing the record when we're trying to be able to create a coherent marketing push ahead of a record's release, we'd prefer that people take the music down ahead of its formal release. But afterwards, I mean, it's not like I'm overtly endorsing the free distribution of our music, but on the other hand, it's a fact of life, and I would much rather focus on serving the interests of the music fan and the artists as opposed to freaking out about something which is just part of the reality of living in the times we live in.
Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, Jonathan Poneman.
Thank you, everybody. Woo!
Thanks, guys.